accept what is critical thinking to you. How do you want to do it? How do you want to accomplish it? So the first definition of critical thinking is people who think about thinking are critical thinkers. All philosophers are critical thinkers. Because they thought about the thought process itself. How do you think when something is presented? They are analyzing that. So if you're sitting in this room and trying to figure out, oh, I'm sitting in a certain space given to me by the school. Is this school a part of the space, or is this space a part of the school? What do you think? Now that's critical thinking. You've got to go beyond what normal advertising tells you. Everybody will say, this room is a part of Matt Driver's. I don't accept it. I'm saying, that's this room tells me where Matt Driver's is. So, well, what do you mean? That is what I'm talking about. Think about the thinking process. Don't accept statements at face value. Because traditionally that has been important. So a critical thinker thinks beyond what people dictate. A critical thinker does not follow directions. Once again, a critical thinker does not follow directions. A critical thinker gives directions. A critical thinker designs directions to make sure the directions are unbiased. A critical thinker always makes calculated moves. A critical thinker is a strategist. The second definition of critical thinking. A critical thinker is who? A person who thinks like a critic. So nothing is accepted by the critical thinker, nothing. Everything is put to test, everything is put to question. Thinking like a critic means what? Look at the movie critics, look at the book critics, book reviews, food critics. What do they do? Is that the only thing they do? Analyze? No, they do something else beyond analysis. It's called evaluation. So they analyze, they evaluate, they apply, they synthesize several things, and then they're very good in comparing before they form a decision or a judgment. They even evaluate decisions that were made by somebody else. So let's say the Supreme Court told this whole class today, you will have to leave this building at 6 o'clock. We got a brief from the Supreme Court right now, came from fax machine, that this school will close at 6 p.m. today. What's the first thing we'll do? Panic. You will ask why. Are you going to ask the Supreme Court why? How can you challenge the Supreme Court? Let me ask you a question. Is there a thing called appealing the Supreme Court decision? Have you ever heard of that? Have you read about it? The answer is yes, there is. Go to the library and find it out. Yes, you can appeal a decision made by the Supreme Court. And how is that done? There should be some procedure, some methodology, right? That's what I'm talking to you about. Always think about the process itself. Don't accept traditionally Supreme Court, oh no, I can't say anything. Once they say it, yes, it's yes. Okay, so the bottom line is decision making is very relative. And you should be a part of the decision making process in every decision. So critical thinker should and has to become a part of every decision. It depends on how much responsibility you want to take. Okay? What is the third definition of critical thinkers? They ask questions? Yeah, but that's not critical thinking. That's just being an information knower.
Then I guess they would, as you said, they go through the process, then they'll have to come up with some kind of conclusion on their own.
And the conclusion that they come up with on their own Will it be based on solid evidence?
That they receive, yes.
Right. So a critical thinker also is a good evidence collector. So if you're a strategist, let's say you take the exam next weekend, June 8th. You would like to find out everything about that exam before you walk in, right? All the information that's presented. Who designs the test? Who writes the exam? How many people write the test? How many questions are written by who? How long is the test tested before it's given to us? If you knew all these answers, you'll be fine. But those answers are not being given to you, they are being hidden. Otherwise, you will become test smart. So a critical thinker always goes behind the information, not just at face value. That's the third definition. So a critical thinker does not only look at the source of information, but also information itself. Why information?
Can you say it again?
Yes. A critical thinker does not just look at information or evaluate and analyze information, but finds out why the information was given in the way it was given in the first place. So information itself, in eyes of a critical thinker, has no value. If I gave you a sheet of paper and said, here's a registration bulletin for the exam, so what? Now let me ask you a critical thinking question. Why is this booklet published? That's a critical thinking. Who wants to answer this one? Why did they publish this booklet?
So they can
They can do what?
inform me about the test and if you send.
Well, why don't they publish a book about the test? They can give you 100 questions on each area and say, here is a test book from us. Why don't they do that? So what is the reason for putting this book out? Why do they have it out? One common reason you'll give is,
People want information, so you give them something.
okay. So is this a PR piece? Public relations piece? That could be one way of looking at it. Is what else is this? What else is this booklet representing? Does it have any legal value? You know, he's saying no. See how quickly you made a decision? How quickly you said no? What did I teach you today? Don't get attached. Detach yourself. Think about it. Is there a legal value? Could it be there? Is there any legal background behind this bulletin? How do you know? The answer is yes, there is. So some attorneys sat down and put it together. To protect who? Protect the association that gives the test. Bottom line. So please analyze this booklet. Once again, why do we have this booklet? One is for public relations. So they have something out to sell the test. So people take it. Because they have to advertise the test, whether they like it or they don't, they have to. People won't just take it because somebody's giving the test. The second thing is there's a legal value. So people who take the test read all the guidelines. So if there's a question on the exam and you can question it in the court of law, they'll say, no, we had it in the objectives. Did you read the outlines? No, I never read the outline. Well, it's right here, in black and white. What's the third reason for this booklet? This gives them a relative measure of how many people get this book. They will publish, say, 100,000 copies. So after 1 year, they'll find out how many more do we need to publish. How many people took the test? How many books are going to waste? So they are also budgeting the test, right? And there's a package obviously for application, because they could have just given you an envelope with an application. They did not have to go through this effort of putting a little booklet. And the third thing, the fourth thing, I'm not over with this. The fourth thing is, they also give you sample questions. Why? Why don't they give you a sample test instead of sample questions? Why do they give you only sample questions and not a long sample test? What's the reason? Come on guys, we want you to talk.
It gives you an idea of what, like, let's say an idea of what you're doing. But if you get a sample test, you wouldn't, a sample of it, it stimulates me to, motivates me to go looking, to feel around in that area, to study in that area.
But see, a sample test only gives you one question. And that's only one part of an objective. So it really is worse than knowing it. If you didn't know it, it would be better off. Because knowing one question, what it does something called bias. So you bias towards that direction and you take a lot of items that way at home. What's going to happen? When you take the real test, these sample questions will not be on the real test. There's no standardized test where they use the sample items.
But then you're saying that the books that they give out, the NT, the core battery books that people run by, they shouldn't even bother to buy that?
Well, the reason they buy that is to inform and practice. But that should be only one part of the practice, not the only practice. Not the only practice. So if you prepare for this exam, you should pick up the message given in each question, not the question itself. That's the key in test taking. Pick up the message in each question, not the question itself.
So Dr. Hassan, does this apply also to the LSAT? Because how
Yes.
many people here for MCATs, LSAT, or the GRE? The GRE, would you
Yes.
raise your hand?
Mhm.
There's two.
We have
How
GRE.
many for the LSAT? 1, 3 for the LSAT.
Yeah.
And how many? No, that's last.
Yeah, that's
I mean, how many for the teachers exam?
Or the teachers.
most of them are teachers' exam.
The teachers exam.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the-
We are going to spend a lot of time doing the teachers' exam. That's the main audiences. But we also have to spend quite a bit of time on the GRE.
the GRE.
Because there are layers in the GRE test that the LAST is testing. But they don't say that in the booklet.
Say that again.
And the LAST exam for the teacher certification has a part of the exam that tests what's in the GRE. There's a thread that's common. But they don't say it.
Okay, all right, let me get this clear. So the LAST, which is on the New York State
Yeah.
Teachers Exam,
Right.
is connected, part of that is
To the
on
GRE.
the GRE.
Right.
Oh,
So essentially, if somebody is taking the GRE test, or if somebody is taking the LAST exam, they could use the GRE materials from ETS. But they're never told. But if you read the questions, then you say, this is the same thing they do on the GRE. This is the same thing as on the LSAT. The LSAT is also inside the New York exam, by the way.
the New York Teachers Exam.
Yes, that's right.
The LSAT, you mean
The law school, a little bit of, not the whole thing, but questions and bits and pieces. The objectives are very similar. See, what they've done is they've made the exam very integrated. And I would expect that rationally, because if a teacher is trying to certify, they're going to teach different types of students. They're not going to teach teachers, don't teach the students in one area. They want instructors to be more diversified. So they picked up a thread from here, a thread from there, a thread from there. So you sort of are taking a little GRE, a little LSAT, and also a little bit of science, okay? Which is similar to the advanced placement test, the AP exams that are given in high school. So they've thrown a lot of questions in this exam from the AP tests, okay? And the problem is the students are not aware of the process, how it's put together. And obviously the major thread of this exam is the National Teachers Exam. It's still connected to the PPSD or whatever it's called, the Pre-Professional Skills Test. So this test is a mixture. It's not one element. Yeah, go ahead.
So the pieces on critical thinking and verbal reasoning are across the board,
That's
are
right.
the same
That's
across
right.
the board on
That's
all the exams.
And also GMAT, also problem solving.
And the, okay.
That's right. Those are the common threads. That's right. That's why we're going to work a lot in those areas, because that's where students are not strong. Now, right now, what I'm giving you will work for every test. It doesn't matter if it's GRE or LSAT or MCAT or GMAT. What you have done so far is you know the item, the question itself, and the 5 answers. Once you read the passage or look at the passage, we will show you a process of how to do that. And the next step is to scan the items, not the answers. Scan the items. I repeat, you probably should put this in a large poster and hang it in your door. Every time you enter your house, scan the answers, not read them. Scan, S-C-A-N. And I'll teach you how to do it when we go through this exam. The passage I gave you. That was the intentional reason to give you this test today. To make you go beyond limits, testing yourself. So what is the approach to reading any of these types of exams? Step 1, scan the passage. Skim the passage, I'm sorry. Skim the passage. And I'm going to demonstrate how skimming is done from the Nico Frahida exam. The second step is, what's the second step? Scan, skim the questions or items or problems. We also call them item stems. And I'll tell you why it's called a stem. If you have a tree, and then there are branches, that's what the items are. This is the item stem, okay? The main question is called the item stem. And the 4 or 5 answers, the 5 shoots are the A, B, C, D. Do you see what I'm talking about? So look at the graphical picture of an item. Each item is made up of a stem followed by 4 branches or 5 branches. Please don't look at the branches. Just quickly glance and run away. I'm going to tell you in a minute why you should do that. You're going to save your life from test taking if you do that. If you don't, you're going to be always in trouble. So what I'm going to tell you now is so important for test taking. But if you haven't mastered this, I want you to wait and think about it, then come back and ask me. So skim the questions on item stems. You got that? And the third step, scan the responses for key words, which may be trigger words or signal words. We talked about it last time. But I'll repeat that if you did not get the handout. There are some handouts I gave last week. I may have a stash in my suitcase which I can give you later on. But if you missed any handouts, we'll be happy to give you more copies. Let's go through these reading steps once again. These are 3 basic steps of reading. Number 1, skim the passage. Well, how do you do that? We're going to do it right now. You'll see it. Skim the questions or item stems. Third, scan the responses. Scan, scan, scan. Don't read them. Don't skim them. So is there a difference between scan and skim? Sure. There has been a difference for centuries. Absolutely, they're 2 different words. And what's the 4th thing you'll do in test taking? Read 1 question at a time. Read 1 question at a time. Remove all the clutter from your brain. Only focus on 1 question. Read 1 question at a time and focus on what is being asked. What is the question? That's what I always tell people to remember. Ask yourself, what is the question? What is the question asking you? Okay, so these are the 4 basic elements of test taking on a standardized test. These steps will not work for a test taken at MedDrivers if you take an essay type exam. Because MedDrivers tests are not standardized. Do you understand the difference? If a professor gave you multiple choice at MedDrivers or at Hunter College, they are not standardized. In a standardized test, this will work. Why? Because the entire country has gone through this. So they are looking at every exam from the nationalistic point of view, not from a college point of view. That's why a college does not prepare you to take standardized tests. It does not. It can, but it does not. Should, but it does not. Can and should is fine, but it's not happening. Now let's take a look at Nico Frigida's passage and apply these 4 things real quick. So we really master these. Do you want to take time and really ask each other what I've said? Okay, I'll give you 2 minutes for dialogue. And then I start the Nico Frigida passage. Ask yourself, ask each other, are you convinced? Are you sure? Is this what this guy is trying to tell me from heaven or hell? What's going on? So talk to each other now. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to say, may I help you? Should I help you? I'm here to provide the help that you need. So please work with me. It's a very difficult day because I have to give you a lot of information that's going to be new and you're going to say, what is this? So if you don't accept it, ask a question so we can explain it again and again. This stuff should go in, you should have a gut feeling of test taking by today. So when you walk into a test, you should be able to teach your children, you should be able to teach your colleagues how to take a test and be a competitive student. Doesn't matter if it's New York State or it's Connecticut or it's Boston, doesn't matter to me where you are, or California. So now, let's read this passage from Nico Frahida. What is the first thing I'll do in reading a passage? I've been told by someone I don't have to read the passage. I have to skim the passage. How is skimming done? You read the first sentence of each paragraph. That's all you do. I repeat, you read the first sentence of each paragraph. That's all you're going to do. And we're going to pick a volunteer in this class who's going to do it for us. And then we're going to stop them if they make a mistake. So who is the volunteer who's going to read step 1 of this process? Who wants to skim the passage for us? I can do it, but I want you to do it. Go ahead. Skim the passage.
Nico Frahida writes that emotions are governed by psychological principles called the law of apparent reality. Emotions are elicited only by events appraised as real, and the intensity of these emotions corresponds to the degree to which these events are appraised as real.
Stop right here. Did you see how long the sentence was? So do you think the test maker is blind? The test maker is very clever. They know some people are going to learn AFTAB. Skim the passage. So their job is to make you distracted. So they put a long sentence. What should you do? You have to make a judgment. Let me tell you the judgment I'll make on this one. Nico Frahida writes that emotions are governed by a psychological principle called the law of apparent reality, and stop. That's all I'm going to do. I have made a decision on the day of the test, during the test. You can't call anyone at that time, you're stuck. And you've been told to read the first sentence when skimming the passage. You're going to say, after, when I get out of this test, I'm going to beat you up. Because you told me to read the first sentence, a long sentence. It's going to take you so long. So break the sentence. The idea is to get informed just casually to the first part of the paragraph. That's all we want you to do. What's the second part of the skimming? Second paragraph. Go ahead.
Okay. Frida's law.
Speak loudly, please.
Frida's law accounts for my panic. If I am afraid of snakes and see an object I correctly appraise as a rattlesnake, and also for my identical response if I see a coiled garden hose I mistakenly perceive it to be a snake.
Okay. So the law of apparent reality is what they're talking about. Did you notice that how the first sentence in the first paragraph is connected to the first in the next paragraph? Have you noticed that? So the test maker knows that. They know the critical thinker will pick up the message. And the students who are lost forever will read the passage, cover to cover. What's happening? They're losing the message. You're picking a better message. You can actually tell me the law of apparent reality is. You don't even have to take the test, you can tell me what it is all about. You can perceive things as different objects. It happens to all of us. So it's nothing magical that Nico Frahida is saying. But on a test, you've got to accept it, whatever it said. Okay, third paragraph.
Most psychologists, perplexed by the feelings they acknowledge are aroused by aesthetic experience, have claimed that these emotions are genuine but different in kind from non-aesthetic emotions.
Have you noticed in all three paragraphs, the first sentence is the longest? Isn't that strange that the test maker is clever again? So it's a game. The test maker is playing a big game with you, with your mind actually. And what we have done is told you to select the first part of the sentence. Whenever a comma or a semicolon comes up, stop. So when I say the first sentence, it means the first clause. It's not the whole sentence, lines long. What if the test maker did that? Just read the first 2 lines and stop. That's the easier way to remember it. Okay? So this skimming the passage is very, very what? Relative to the reader. The reader needs to understand the meaning or objectivity of the skimming. Don't follow directions once again. Don't just say, you said that I should read the first sentence, I'm going to do that. Become a critical thinker, make a judgment. Evaluate what's in front of you. And make up your mind, well, I'll read 2 or 3 lines, that's enough. And let me move on to the next paragraph. Save time, because you're going to need it.
So do this with every paragraph.
Do this every paragraph. Okay? What's the next one? Anybody else who wants to read the next paragraph? Skimming. You want to give a chance to all the students. Yes, go ahead.
Reader does not suggest that a vivid imagination has properties of reality, implying without explanation that we make aesthetic objects or events real in the act of experiencing them.
Okay? And that's the end. We have now skimmed the passage. We are done. What's the next step on the board? Skim the questions. And when I say questions, I said questions or item stems. Don't look at the answers. Don't even look at them. Please. You're going to make a very, very big mistake. You'll commit a sin if you do that right now. And I'm going to tell you in a minute why. So let's try to skim the questions. I'll do that because I'm pretty fast in this one. So I want you to follow the way I do it so you can sort of hear it out. Which one of the following best states the central idea of the passage? According to the passage, the author suggests the passage supports all of the following statements. Which one of the following best captures the progression of the author's argument? The author's assertions concerning movies about ghosts. Which one of the following statements best exemplifies the position of Radford? That's it, I'm done. So do you understand the step that I went through? You didn't understand it. Okay, let me go again. Do it once again. Once more. What I've done is I've picked up the key phrase in each statement. Now I'm not going to say that you can do that real quick, but I want you to learn this, what I'm doing right now. I'm going to show you how it's done. So you can become masters of test taking. Which one of the following best states the central idea? That's it. I just read it and stopped in the middle. My eyes are going fast, but I am not watching the answers. I have been trained by someone that don't read those 4 answers or 5 answers. Okay? According to the passage, question 10. Question 11. The author suggests. Question 12. The passage supports all of the following statements. Question 13. Which one of the following best captures the progression? 14. The author's assertions concerning movies about ghosts. 15. Which one of the following statements best exemplifies the position? And I stop. So if you did not ask me this question that you didn't understand, I will not explain it again. So please ask your questions. I think this young lady did a great job in saying after I repeat what he did. So this time I went slowly. So please ask your questions. If you keep them in your mind, nobody will know what your questions are. You've got to open up. Yes?
So when you're skimming the question, you're not reading the whole question.
That's right. That's right. What I'm picking up is, where is the test maker coming from? What are they going to end up asking me? So what I remember is, the central idea. Okay? What's wrong, what's right with the central idea? Maybe that's one of the areas they're going to check on that. So when I will go back to the question reading back later on, I'll be very well informed. I have been now trained to sort of know the general trend of questions behind this passage. And there's another reason you did that. Let's say these questions are very hard, and the passage was very difficult. You probably will skip this and go to the next one, and come back to it later on. Sometimes you have to make test-taking decisions. And your decision should be to watch your moves. Okay? If you need to see something very difficult, should you jump into it? Walk away. Come back later. Alright? Third, scan the responses for keywords. This is going to be interesting. Because you're going to say, I have read all the answers, I know all of them. Now let me tell you why I told you not to read all the answers. Actually, let's see if anybody can tell us. Why should you not read all the answers?
None of them sound correct, or most incorrect.
How many answers are correct in each case?
Two.
Two answers are correct? Who said two? So how many answers are correct in each case? One. Okay. What is 1 out of 5? How many percent is 1 out of 5? 20%. So essentially, if you have 10 questions, and each question has 5 answers, what is 10 times 50?
500.
5. 10 times 50 will be? No, 10 times 5 is 50. So we have 10 questions with 5 answers for each. That's 50 answers, right? Or 50 statements. How many of these 50 statements are right?
10.
Sure on that? If I have 10 questions, there have to be 10 statements right? And you notice what will happen? Let me tell you what will happen. If you read all 50 answers, you will take 5 times the time that you should have taken. And actually it's time wasted. Secondly, now you have 40 sentences in your imagination that are wrong, and 10 that are right. Which one is going to be more dominant in your brain, the wrong or the right? Absolutely. So the test maker has flooded you with wrong answers. And you said, great, I love it. That's called, the test has taken you. You haven't taken the test. Do you understand what I'm talking about? This is why I'm saying stay away from reading the 5 answers. The temptation is very strong. Stay away from temptation. So if you read 40 wrong answers and 10 right answers, you tell me if you're a human being that you will not be biased to the wrong answers. You sure will. It's impossible for you not to pick more wrong than right if you read them all. It's impossible for you to be so selective. So the tests in America are designed under this principle. All tests. From the time when you're born till the time you die. Every multiple choice exam is designed this way. This is why the European system does not accept multiple choice tests. Because they think that you're putting wrong information in front of the students. Before you even give them the right answer, they don't have a choice. You're pushing them hard to read 40 wrong answers and 10 right answers. How do you expect them to come up with the 10 right? So what we are teaching in test taking is to capture the reading process and not get involved. Stay away from reading those wrong answers. Do you see why? This is what I was telling you. It's not just because I have to tell you this. Everything has a reason behind it. And the reason is the test maker wants you to get confused. Plus, the test maker wants you to waste time. So the test maker has now said, great. If I give you 20 answers, you'll read all 20. If I give you 30 answers, you'll read all 30. You're always going to do that because how many people are taking this test taking workshop in New York State today? 30 people, 20 people. So what? They don't care. So that's what I'm talking about. Please remember, this will be something you will take a lesson from today. When you teach your children or your friends, take a standardized test. Tell them the first thing to avoid is what? Reading all 5 answers at the same time. Okay, now, yeah. Sure.
What about one innate, well not innate, but the experience that one has when you walk into the reading competition?
Could you speak up?
We can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
But they're trying to videotape the whole thing.
Okay, when one walks into the test,
Uh-huh.
you already have experience in comprehension ability.
Right.
Doesn't that at all play a role in your reading the passages?
The comprehension that you have in everyday life is not according to this test formula.
So
It doesn't have the same design. You know, when you read in a book every day,
Yes.
you have a passage followed by questions. That's usually something you don't read in a novel. How many novels do you have with multiple choice questions? You know what I'm saying? Or books that you read. So I think the design of the test is different than what you're casually or usually reading on a daily basis. The comprehension makes you pick up the words and vocabulary, definitely. It also improves your eye fixation, is what we call it.
Okay.
How you move your eyes over the page. But it does not really give you what they're going to give you. Why is that? Because it's unexpected. So when you read a book, you read cover to cover, you know the name of the book, you know the ending of the book, and you can pick up any page you like. On this test, you don't know what's before Nico Ferreira's passage. You don't know what's after this passage, because we are only giving you a little piece. That's why I use the word stimulus. Remember I said that each passage provides a visual stimulus. That's all it does. So comprehension helps, but it doesn't really help you to evaluate what they want you to check. That's the problem. Okay? So if you're a good reader, it's great that you're a good reader, but the comprehension part may not be strong enough to beat the odds on this test. And that's what you have to watch for. You're trying to be competitive. So your comprehension may not be as competitive as somebody else who is average in test taking. And you have no idea what the average is. What's the speed? It's not the reading speed that counts. It's what you get out of it as you read it fast. And that's what counts. Okay? Anybody else with any other questions? If you take a lot of tests like this before, then you change. Why? Because you start practicing those 5 things or 4 things. So everything that you do looks like a puzzle. It's like doing Scrabble a million times versus 1 time. So you have to remember the logic behind this. Okay, now let's read the next thing. What is the third direction? Scan the responses for keywords. What are the keywords in this? Let's look at them carefully. Now what will happen is when you see the responses, it's going to be very hard. The only word I'm picking up right now is unreasonable. Fails, I saw it 2 times. I'm looking at the word unable 2 times. I then went to 10A, unpredictable, B, cannot, B, more intense, E, weaker, A, unself-consciousness, D, irrelevant distinctions, E, distinction, no distinction. So I'm basically picking up some of the buzzwords that I may connect to the passage later on. All right? And I think that's the third step. Scan for trigger words, keywords. What's a trigger word? Negative words, words that change direction, words that show you the author's idea is going to be moved to this direction, however, in addition to. And what are signal words? You have the list in your possession. Probably, almost, likely. And the signal words that are deductive, cannot, never, except. Okay. Now, read one question at a time and focus on what's being asked. So let's read the first question. Let us now read the first question. Which one of the following best states the central idea of the passage? How would you answer this question? When you look at the 5 answers, you see the law of apparent reality, theories of aesthetic response, the law of apparent reality. Psychologists have been unable. And right away I'm going to pick up 2 answers that are out, D and E. Why? Why did I totally throw out D and E before I even solve the problem? Why is that, guys? Nico Ferreira. And we are saying psychologists have been unable. The word unable is a problem. We call it a problematic border exam. If they said psychologists have been mostly not able to, that will be okay. But if they're saying unable, it means they're saying no, they have not been able to do it. So that's why D and E are out. Did you get the test?
Not yet.
Okay, there should be a test that we gave in the morning. And they took it at 10:30 today. That's what we're going over right now.
Say that again, I mean,
I'll say it again, yeah. I'm going to talk about it very clearly. There are 2 or 3 answers to every question that are wrong, depending on the number of choices. If you have a 5-answer test, there are 5 answers. 2 of those are blind wrong answers. They're just there. If you can pick up those 2 wrong answers before you do anything else, you've increased your chance of test taking from 20% to 33%. That's a big jump. Okay? Because the likelihood you'll get one answer right is 20% if you just pick it randomly. But if you eliminate 2 answers, then the likelihood goes to 33%. It's 1 out of 3. Why did I get rid of the psychologists have been unable answer? It basically gives you a negative impression of psychologists. And there's no one in this world who will give you a test like that. I repeat, they will never give you an exam where negative things are mentioned about a profession. Okay? Or emotional attachment is expressed in some choice. So they're saying, who are these people to tell you that the psychologists are unable? They're not psychologists, they're test writers. So that's why D and E are completely wiped out. Do you all understand what I'm saying? Do you want to talk to each other to make sure you understand what I'm saying? Okay, go ahead and take a minute to talk to each other.
Or any question.
So when it says psychologists are unable, that's what you want to focus on. So negative words are supposed to be watched very carefully. Usually eliminated, depending on how they're used. See, here they're expressing the inability of psychologists. And that's the problem. They are saying that psychologists are unable to do something. It's a professional comment. So they cannot reject a profession. Hence, D and E are completely wiped out. So in critical thinking, what you've learned today is there are certain basic ethical rules you have to follow as a test maker. And also legal problems they can get into. Because if psychology students take this exam, they'll say, oh, you said a lot of negative things about my field. How can you write a test that way? So that's why D and E are. What's the third answer that goes out? I want you to decide that with your friends. Have a dialogue with your partner. As you know, the way we run this class, we always have students working in groups. So if you have a partner, work in a pair all day long. What is the third answer you'll say is wrong? We are now between A, B, and C. The question is we want to get one more answer out. Which one is that? Anyone, guys? What other answer is wrong? You know, D is out, E is out. What's the next one that you want to get rid of? How many of you think that A is the wrong answer? Or A should be thrown out? Okay, you think one. How many of you think that B should be thrown out? B as in boy. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many of you think that C should be thrown out? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Let me tell you the word to remember in A, B, and C. There are two words used, theory and law.
Yeah. What are the two words? What are the two words?
Theory and law. The law and the theory. As you know, the law is much more concrete and solid than, so B should be automatically eliminated. Goodbye.
What's that theory and law?
That's right. We don't know which law is appropriate, we'll find out. But the test maker is doing two things to your mind at this time. Number one, do you know the difference between theory and law? Number two, two answers have the word law in them. So it's more likely that one of those two answers is the right answer. And the theory one is out. So for that reason, we are going to reject B as the appropriate answer.
Wait, excuse me, say.
Now,
Or B is out.
so far it's gone out.
Okay.
B took a hike. B is a theory. A theory is less appropriate than law. Now let's go into the law part. This is going to be a very interesting discussion. I want you to tell me, is it A or C and why? If you picked up A, tell me why. And if you picked up C, tell me why. And if you picked up both, we need to talk right away.
I am nature.
We are doing critical thinking today, don't forget that. Apply critical thinking to these two answers, A and C. And the answer is actually staring at your face, guys, right now. The answer is saying, pick me, pick me, pick me.
I picked C.
You picked up C.
Yeah.
Why?
I picked up C from the beginning part. The first when you scan it,
Yes.
it says the law of apparent reality. Emotions are elicited only by events appraised as real.
Excellent. So C is the right answer. You got it. Very good. Now let me give you another test maker's trick. What is the difference between A and B? A and C? Emotional nature of belief. How can something fail? How can something fail? To determine the nature of something, right? So that's why A is out. But in C, what you see is fails to account satisfactorily for emotional responses. You can fail to respond, but you can't fail to believe the nature of something. So that's why A is also wiped out. So test taking and passage reading are hand in hand. If you put them together, you're going to be so strong that you will control the questions. And once you control the questions, you will steer them the way you want.
To be honest, it still looks confusing.
Excuse me?
I said, when I look at A and C, it still looks a little confusing.
Okay, let me tell you why. What is confusing in A and C? Both answers have the law of apparent reality. In A it says it fails to account for emotional nature of belief, right? Emotional nature of belief. And in C it says fails to account for emotional responses to art. What is more harsh, emotional nature or emotional response? Right. So if something fails to do that, that means it's not the correct answer. So C is left, which is the right answer. Let's go to the second question. For some of you, it's going to be very hard for the first few questions except this method. But the more and more you understand this, you'll say, wow, this is the way to take tests. And once you get to this point, you're going to enjoy test taking. You'll love to take tests then. You will then start teaching test taking to other people. Okay? Yes?
If you now that we chose the correct answer, if you read 10, it almost gives you the answer.
Right. That's right. That's right. It sure does. And I think that's where people don't realize how calculated the answer is. But you see, even when you read the answers, I'm not still reading the whole answer throughout the game. I'm picking up things in the answer that I need to get the answer. Have you noticed I have not read every answer word by word? It's useless. I'm reading 4 wrong things and 1 right. Stay away from that process. Second question. According to the passage, meaning that the passage has to be involved, or the test maker is telling you, have you seen the passage and does it say this? That's what test maker directions are. The instruction is, have you seen the passage? Do you understand what it says? Freire's law asserts that emotional responses to events are, and once again, what answer will I never pick up? I will never pick up B, because it says weaker if the person cannot distinguish. The word cannot. And what answer, other answer I'll pick up? Another answer I'll stop getting is A. Unpredictable. Unpredictable. There may be some prediction in every field today. So saying something is unpredictable, we have a problem. It's not unpredictable. It may be partially predictable. So I'm getting rid of A and B right in the face. And now I'm going to give you another minute to tell me what other answer you'll get rid of between C, D, and E. Cat, dog, or elephant? You got 3 things. A cat, a dog, an elephant.
At the beginning you said E and B was not.
No, I said A and B.
A and B?
A and B. A says unpredictable and B says cannot.
So which other answer you would eliminate?
Yeah, I
I
want
would
you.
take E too.
So you'll take E. Why would you take E out?
Because of, like you said, it starts off with the same thing as B, with the weaker of the person judges an event to be real.
But unthreatening.
But
Good, very good. So he's out. Excellent. Somebody understands test taking. That's great. Very good. Tell the class what you just found out. She learned test taking real quick. So she's now going to teach you test taking. Go ahead.
we had eliminated B, and if you look at B starts off weaker if the person cannot be distinguished. And look at E starts off the same way too. Weaker if the person judges an event to be real,
But
but
unthreatening.
unthreatening.
So unthreatening and weaker will eliminate E as the answer.
Yes.
So now we are stuck between C and D. Which answer do you think is more logical, C or D?
Depending, more or less, depending.
So what do you suggest?
C is more reliable.
That's right, excellent.
More or less.
Tell the class what you just said. Hold a minute, please listen to these people. There are test takers being formed in this class now, today. We have a second test taker. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have more intense if the person perceives an event to be frightening. But when you look at C, it says more or less. It may be
More or less.
intensity has a degree.
So the answers are more inductive than deductive. That's what you learned today.
Okay.
The deductive answers are usually wrong. The inductive answers are usually true. So C is the correct answer. All right?
So far we have 2 C's, 9 and 10.
But that should not do something called bias you to picking up C's. Once again, remember, do not get attached to the test.
That's true.
Stay detached, and you'll be fine. Be neutral. Let's go to the third question. The author suggests that Freire's notion of the role of imagination in aesthetic response is problematic because I need to get 2 answers that are out. Say again? Whatever you pick up, tell us loudly. Pick up two answers that are totally wrong. You said D? Makes irrelevant distinctions? Very good. Tell us why.
Because the author should make no distinction.
That's right. Very good. So D is out. Makes irrelevant distinctions. The author should not go to that step, right? So we have D out. Otherwise, why would the author write if they did not know the distinctions? What other answer will you pick up to be wrong? Between A, B, C, and E.
I would take out A.
You'll take out A? Why do you take out A? Go ahead and tell us why.
Now, also the author is saying that it
Ignores the unself-consciousness. Double negatives. Very deductive. So A is out. And then you're saying E is out. Well, some of these people are getting smart. I got to watch out. I can't write the test anymore. They know the secrets. The word no distinction. You got it. Wow, you got three balls in one row. That's excellent. A is gone, D is gone, and E is gone. So we are now stuck between B and C. And usually when you look at these two elapsed answers, so one answer is more realistic. The other one is very hypothetical. So what's your answer?
C.
God, you're smart. Why? Why did you pick up C?
The fact that
That's right. Excellent. Don't you feel good about yourself? But you got 3 C's in a row. C, C, C. Is it possible to do that on a real test? Yes. They will have 3 or more, 3 letters, no more than that. In other words, if you get 3 answers that are A or 3 B's or 3 C's, you're okay. But if you get to 4, you better wake up. If you get C, 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 and C, it's hardly unlikely that they'll have exams with that kind of choice. Maybe once in a blue moon. But it's rare. So if you're getting C, 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 you're sick. Something's happening. You better watch out. Yes?
Yeah, I just want to know for 11, number 11.
Yes.
We said the answer is C. I just want to make clear why.
Why? Okay, she wants to ask you why is C correct? Give us your reason.
Because we're looking for things that are factual, trying to find some validity,
That's right.
and it says that this says fact, the fact that.
Because it ignores the fact.
Ignores the fact, right. Whereas the other one ignores the distinction.
That's right.
Right.
So the reason is the fact versus distinction.
Right.
Good. Okay, let's go to number 12. Well, if you're a good test taker, you know number 12 will not be C. But I won't use that as an excuse. So sometimes you will know many ways to answer the same question. Attack every question from different angles. And if you can get it right one way or the other, that's great. You can check yourself. Now if you pick up C as the answer to this question, you need to think about it. I got 3 C's and this one is C. I may be totally out of it today. So let's pick up 12, the worst answers possible in number 12. What 2 answers you don't like?
I don't like D because
You do not like D.
Yeah, because he's giving you his opinion of that he
God,
doesn't like.
these people are smart in this class. Something has happened. I better leave. Gombrich's argument rests on a notion of memory in a way that Radford's argument does not. Excellent. Does not. They will never give you 2 arguers and one of them is totally opposite. You know what I'm saying? It's a very, very strong negative, negation. What is the other answer you'll reject in this? That's right. Who said A? Okay, why did you say A? You have 2 people jumping on A. Exactly. So now we have D gone and we have A gone. And you have been told already that C is, something you don't want to look at. But you can look at C and try to think about why C is wrong. Argues that we do not have true emotions in response to art. What is the definition of true emotions? So that's why C is out. Okay guys, we are now between B and E. I told you one answer is more logical, the other one is totally absurd.
B is the correct.
B is correct.
B is correct. He said E is correct. Let's have an argument. Tell us why B is correct.
Because you said the position is more closer.
And he said E is correct. Why?
It's more, it says it is not focused.
The word not.
Not.
You got killed today. So the correct answer is?
B.
B as in boy. Very good. See how the nots get you? They're very, see the word not is very strong. It's very powerful. When we did this thing last time, the truth table, we drew a table on the board. And what did I teach you? And is more stronger than or. Okay? There's a truth table that I gave in class. If you want to copy it and break,
Okay,
make sure you talk to somebody who was here.
okay.
But I had the and the or. And I gave an assignment last Friday, which I didn't forget. I'm one of those professors who never forget assignments. The assignment was to draw a truth table for the word, a two-letter word. Yeah, she remembers. If. If P, then Q. That's right. So hopefully the break, I'll give you a break and you can all do it together. If you haven't done it, you can still do it in class. We will not throw you out of class for that reason. Number 13.
I have a question before we move on.
Yes, sir.
B, which is the correct answer, which said which position is closest to the
Right.
position
Of the majority.
of psychologists. Now, suppose they would have changed that closer to or is exactly the position of
Oh, big problem. Yeah, very good. Now you got the sense of it. If they said exactly the same as the others, it won't be right. So now you're learning the test-taking game they're playing. It's always the inductive answers that are going to win the not the other. It's a very straightforward game. Once you know the rules of the game, everybody plays it. That's the way it goes. Yeah.
How do you think they are the tools that are not, like, also very scale upside?
Oh, we read D first of all. What it says is that somebody is resting on a notion of memory in a way that Radford's argument is not. So we are wondering about the word memory. How can two authors compare the memory concept and be so definitely opposite? So that's what got D out. And then we went to A, relies on a notion of irrationality, not rational. See, that's again a negative. Okay? All right, let's go to number 13. Which one of the following best captures the progression of the author's argument in line 39 to 31? Go back to the lines and take a look at that if you've forgotten by now. By the way, as you get away from the passage far and far, the questions get more and more difficult. Because they know by now you've read the passage back and forth looking for things. So you're smarter. So the questions get harder. Okay? So let's try to do number 13. Find me two answers that are no-nos. 2 nadas and 3 maybes. Which 2 are no-nos? One of them is obvious. I just am looking at it in my face. This is the most obvious wrong answer. Right. Irrationality. Once again. So A is gone, right? So question number 13 is out. We have B, C, D, and E. What would you pick? Now let me give you another hint here, another test-taking trick. I haven't taught you all the tricks, by the way. I'm keeping some to myself. Okay, A is gone, irrational, right? Let me read B. It says a series of events. C says an intensification. D says a progression of events. And E says the consistency of emotional responses. To me, that's a giveaway. All these 4 are giveaways. A series of events.
Either B or D.
You're saying either B or D?
No,
All right. Anybody else? Well, first of all, let's get rid of the second answer that you don't like. We so far got A out. What else you want to throw out?
You started saying something, but then you started doing.
No, I finished it. I said that if you have these four phrases, a series of events, an intensification and emotion response, a progression of events, and the consistency of emotion response, those four tell me which way the answer is going to go. But I need to pick out one answer that's wrong before I don't go that far. What else is wrong, guys?
Consistency.
He's saying he's the answer. He's saying he's the answer.
but C is out. I'll pick C.
You'll pick a what?
You said C is, which to choose one that is out.
Yeah, which one do you want to get out?
And I would take out C.
Why would you take out C?
Intensification.
Uh-huh. Did you see what she said?
Pick.
The word intensification. An emotional response to a series of events that range from this to the depicted. So that's why C is gone, right? Okay, so now we are stuck between B, D, and E. And what would you suggest in this particular case? Will be B or D or E, and why? What's the difference between B, D, and E in lines 9 to 31? And don't forget what it says. You've got to find the author's argument. Author's argument. So what is the author's argument? The position the author is taking. Is the author saying that a series of events that range from the real to the depicted conveys the contrast? Is the author saying that a progression of events that range from the real to the depicted examines the precise nature of panic? Or the consistency of emotional responses to events that range from the real to the depicted? So what is the answer, guys? How many of you think A is the answer? How many think B is the answer? Yeah, how many think C is the answer? Just checking. How many of you think D is the answer? It looks like people are getting very smart. There's one D in the class. You got one student with D as the answer. Tell us why you are attracted to D. You like B or D? Okay, tell us why you like B more.
Because being there is a series of events that is depicted in this line.
Is there a series of events? Is there a series? What would be series in time, right? Sequence. Do we have a series mentioned in time? From lines 9 to 31, do we have a series going on? Series has to do with time. There's no timeline. So what is very critical? Is the consistency. And hence the answer is E. E. E as an elephant. That's right. That's right. Exactly. That's right. Okay, number 14. Now this is a tricky one. Which one? Okay. Which one did you pick up?
I'm not quite sure why.
E?
Yeah, why the answer is
Okay, did you understand the other things we did before the elimination?
I have intensification.
Right. So which answer are you picking up as wrong? Right now A is gone, right?
Right.
We also got D out. Right.
Okay, why is the
Okay, why is D out? What is the reason that D is out? Is the same reason as B. A series of events. A progression of events. What's the difference between series and progression? They are parallel to each other. Series means in order, right? Progression means one leading to the next, to the next, to the next. But I don't see any progression in lines 9 to 31. The argument, what she does, the author presents the passage with each event as a separate part of the evidence. So the argument is strong. So that's why B and D are out. Now we're stuck with C and E. So now, as you know, we have also got rid of C, intensification. So that's why we're left with D. Now, if you really think about that, what she has tried to demonstrate, the author, in the argument is that consistently these responses come out. Hence, my position is strong. That's how the author's argument always propagates in the mind of the reader. Anybody else with questions? Yes.
What I'm saying is that vocabulary is very important to because if you
Yes.
have the go where what consistency.
Listen to what she's saying.
I'm
Say
saying
it loud.
very well, your vocabulary must be to a certain level because if you don't know the difference between consistency and progress.
Yes. Yes.
You won't be able to write.
Consistent means always the same, having the same trend or nature. And what does progression mean? Leading from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. Changing. Great. Okay, now let's go into number 14. And I'm glad that you're picking up these signals because this is what I want you to do to become a strong test taker. Number 14. By the way, Elander brought those sheets for you. The signal and trigger words, if you didn't get them, we all now have that sheet. These are words used in all standardized exams across the country. And they're used at every level. They're constantly used in tests ranging from SATs to the LSATs or whatever you want to call them. So please remember that these are the kinds of words you want to watch for. They're called signal words or trigger words, depending on the nature of the word itself. Yeah, there's a question exam. The questions are right there. She has them. She needs a test.
Oh, okay.
So when you see those words, you should avoid the questions.
Well, I wouldn't avoid them. I'd understand, like you said, the vocabulary. What does the word mean really? If I see the word really, what does it really mean? You know? And if I use the word almost likely, what does it really convey? Okay. The actual nature of the word, the way it's placed in that sentence, the context of the use of the word is crucial. Okay, question 14. Now that you're getting better test takers, hopefully, you can quickly tell me which answers are wrong in 14.
C,
Very good. Why is C wrong?
because it says are not twice.
You understand what I'm saying? Now watch out something very interesting in this question. The word except is a killer. If you see the word except, I told you last time, don't read it. Answer the question ignoring the word except. Then if you pick up all the answers, then what's left over is the right answer. Let me repeat this again. If you ever see the questions with the stem there is a negative answer, saying find all of the following are true except, then what you do is you ignore the word except. You say all of the following are true, then you read them one by one. True, 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 not true. This is the answer. This way you don't have to think backwards because it's very hard for us to think negative. As humans, we always think positive. We don't think negative. So it's hard for us to reverse our thinking process in the middle of reading
See here,
something.
the word up there, except.
Except.
He's saying, don't notice it, just read the question.
Without the word except.
Okay,
So what will happen is when you read the answers, you'll say, oh, this is true, this is true, this one is not true, that's the answer, that's the except. So you locate except by watching the words itself. Okay? So what answer do you think is wrong? You said C is wrong because of, or not terrifying because people know that what they're viewing is not real. And his reasoning was it's double negative. And I'm so happy that you said that. Excellent. Very good. What else is wrong?
D,
Why is D wrong? Good.
permanent,
D is wrong.
Say again?
permanent.
Permanently. Excellent. Boy, you guys are smart today. What did you eat? Okay, number 14. Number 14, we've got two answers out so far,
Also,
C and D.
E also has the
E
word
is
do
do
not.
not.
Okay, so he's saying ease out, now he's picking up do not.
Yeah.
Okay, ease out too. Now you should have an easy answer between A and B.
A is the answer.
A is out, okay, why is A out?
All viewers.
That's right, very good.
Why is it
All viewers.
Oh, it's like all viewers. Why was A so?
So the only answer left is? B is in boy, that's correct. Very good. Okay, the question is why is B correct? We have another question. Shh. There's a lot of noise, people can't hear between comments. Somebody is saying here that why is B correct and A is not correct? What makes A wrong?
Because of all.
You have to all viewers, because,
It's implied there. And what happens in B is that we are saying imaginary phenomena like ghosts may be just as terrifying as movies. So we are doing some kind of a comparison, we're using the word maybe. We are saying like ghosts. Those are inductive words. And that makes the question answer more inductive. Okay, number 15, the last question on Nico Frehila. Which one of the best statements best exemplifies the position of Radford now? And don't forget this time, it's position of Radford, not Nico Frehila. So which answers will you pick up? Very careful, this is a hard question. Very carefully look through the answers. They have to catch you somewhere. I know one answer that's wrong right away. And even worse than A. Yeah, B. That's right. B is the first answer you want to get rid of. Because you got the word kidnapping feels nothing. And it realizes it's not a real event. Sure it is. So B is out. What about A? That's the next one. Okay, and why do you think D is out? Okay. You think D is out? Look at the difference between A and D. I'm getting rid of irrational in A, but in D we have two sentences. Irrationality has been defined with a cause. So be careful with that one. So far I have said B is out and A is out. What else is out? E is out. Irrationality panics, right? So we have A out, B out, and E out. We are now between C and D. There's a very big problem with C. What is that word? The word particular enjoyment is a problem. So the correct answer is? That's right, D as in dog. Next passage.
Excuse me, but I also took out D because I saw the word a person irrationally.
I know, but you went too fast. You did not read the cause for why is it irrational. So they gave you a reason behind it, because even then this happens. That's why. You can't just pick it out because it just says irrational, you know. That's just,
So what's the reason?
if it was just mentioned irrationally, then that's a problem. But what you have is here is a conditional clause. Yeah, irrationally if this happens. That's why. Next paragraph, next passage. Yeah. I can't hear you when he speaks. I mean, I can't even hear a word.
With letter D, when I look at C and I look at D, still, if I was taking the test, I would still be a little confused about which one would be the answer.
Okay, somebody wants to ask, why is it C or D? It's a vocabulary problem somebody's having. So can anybody tell us why? Why is it not C and is it D? What is the key word in C that makes it wrong? Particular enjoyment. Specific. It's too specific. It's not inductive enough. Okay, next passage. You notice that some of the questions are very long. Look at question number 16, it takes half a page. But that's why I gave it to you, just to test your stamina. Now, who wants to do the skimming of the passage? Lead roundless, we can hear you on the TV, on the VCR.
Okay, all those bacteria are unicellular and among the simplest autonomous forms of life. They show a remarkable ability to sense environment.
Okay. Let's see. What's the next sentence in the next paragraph? All right.
One clue comes from the observation that when a chemical attractant is added to a suspension of such bacteria, the bacteria swim along a gradient of the attractant from an area where the concentration of the attractant is weaker to an area where it is stronger.
So they try to go from weak to strong. Okay? What's the third paragraph saying?
Biologists have proposed two mechanisms that bacteria might use in detecting changes in the concentration of the chemical attraction.
Okay, great. And basically it tells you a little bit about the passage. Now one thing that you understand, when they say two mechanisms, there will be questions that will ask you that. The difference between the two mechanisms, the similarities. So you will have to read this last paragraph in more detail. So sometimes you may have to do that subjective reading. Okay, let's go to question 16. Who wants to tell me what question 16 is asking? What is the question being asked in 16? Read it carefully, it's a very long question. This probably is the longest question you'll see on any test.
It can be inferred from the passage that which one of the following experimental results would suggest that bacteria detect changes in the concentration of an attraction by measuring in concentration in front and back of the body, cell body simultaneously.
Okay, so we are going to do a question on inferences. The problem is if you have a question on inferences, it's an inferential question. And what is an inference? Define the word inference. I want a definition of the word inference. By the way, who in this class remembers the word of definition of argument I gave last Friday? I defined the word argument last Friday. I'd like to hear it. You'll go back to your notes again, because you love to write. Anyone who wants to define argument? What's an argument?
I wasn't here.
Oh, you were not here?
No, not last week, I wasn't here. But I was here.
Who was here last week? Please raise your hand. Ah, what happened? Where did you miss the boat?
Could it be two different views taken by?
That's what most of the people say, but that's not the right answer.
Argument is when the writer or speaker takes a position and tries to persuade the reader or audience to accept or reject his evidence.
Why don't you say it loudly to the whole class? So say a little slowly. Please. Let everybody listen to that definition. That's the definition.
An argument is when the writer or speaker takes a position and tries to persuade the reader or audience to accept or reject his evidence.
Let me repeat the definition again. An argument takes place when a writer or a speaker takes a position on a certain point of view. You forgot that in your writing, by the way. Takes a position on a certain point of view and tries to persuade the readers or audience to accept or reject that point of view using evidence. And what is an argument made up of? What are the three basic components of an argument? Who anybody remembers that? No, that's a type of argument, not the parts.
Validity, reliability, and soundness. Is that it?
No, the three parts of an argument, yes.
Premises, the evidence and conclusions.
Say it loudly again. Premises, evidence, and conclusions. You will have arguments on every exam, starting from the SAT all the way to the end. So if you do not know an argument, you should stop taking standardized tests, because they will be on the test. It's a very important part of critical thinking.
Is that premises?
Okay, there are three parts of every argument. Premises, evidence, conclusion or conclusions, right? And what are the kind of things they ask you about an argument? The validity of the argument, the soundness of the argument, and reliability of the argument. Okay? So now, in this case, we have bacteria, and they will have some scientific argument being presented with two different points of view. So let's examine that. So in this question, they're asking, what's an inference? What is the definition of inference?
To draw something out.
Okay, one person says it's evidence. Anybody else? Evidence leads to an inference. But what is an inference? It's a drawn conclusion, a conclusion drawn from.
Deduction from what is stated.
So an inference has to be deductive, not inductive.
You deduct some.
Why didn't you say that to the class loudly? Because you give the right answer and I want you to tell the whole class what you said.
He was going to.
Huh?
He was going to.
Okay? Tell the whole class so they can hear you.
Okay. An inference is a deduction from what was stated. An inference should be deductive, not inductive.
Inferences are deductive, usually they're inductive, which means they follow directly from evidence presented in the passage. They're not conclusions. Okay? They're more like observations based on the evidence. Deductive observations, deductive statements. Okay? And what is the conclusion?
Supporting the argument.
The support or rejection of the argument, right? All right. So now we can answer this question. So we have to make a deductive statement from the passage that would suggest that bacteria detect changes in the concentration of an attractant. What makes you believe that that happens? That's what the question is. Let me say this again. The question is asking, what would you suggest is the reason from the passage that makes you believe that bacteria are attracted to the attractant to go from low to higher concentration? So now if you read this, you'll be much better off. So read the question again very carefully, and maybe you can talk to a friend. Ask them how did they read it so quick. Because this question looks like a paragraph. Okay? It's half the length of the passage. And once again, there are two answers that are out, right up. What answers will we pick up to be totally wrong? Why is it B and E? Why is it B and E? Go ahead.
We're looking for something that is what is deductive.
Yeah, what can be reduced from the paragraph, right, from the passage?
It exhibited no change.
That's right. So B is out.
Right.
Should it not be right answer then? Which means that nothing was detected, that's what you're deducting from the passage, right? What does that suggest to you that the inference from the passage is? So B is the problem. You answered the question, but you did not get I want the wrong answer, not the right answer. See, what you're saying is this is deductible from the passage, what you just said, right? But that's the answer.
Right.
What is not deducted from the passage? That's what you're looking for now. That's why this question is hard. The answer that I found to be totally wrong is E. Why is that? When suddenly transferred from a medium in which the concentration of attractant was uniformly low to one that was completely free of attractants, the bacteria exhibited a tendency to suppress tumbling and move in longer, straighter lines. What's wrong with that? I think he's totally wrong. But why is it wrong?
Because he said that was completely free of atropine. This is the
That's right.
Why?
So E is gone.
Because it's completely free.
Yes. Because of the word phrase completely free of attractants.
So what does that mean?
We don't know. We can't cause bacteria. Did you like that attractant? We can't talk to them. So making a judgment that way about bacteria will be a problem. So E is out at this point. What other answer is totally wrong? No? It's a very basic answer. It's a very basic theme there. C. Who said C? I heard somebody say C. The complete absence of tumbling. The complete absence of tumbling. There is some tumbling. You can't say complete absence.
No.
So C is gone and E is out. So we are now stuck in A, B, and D. And it's hard. It's going to be hard. This time it's going to be real tough. Yeah, why is A wrong if you said A? And undergo random changes in direction increase. So that's why A is out. Very good. So now we are left in B and D. Why? What will you do in that case? Watch very carefully. It's going to be a toss of a coin.
No change in B.
And what about D?
Well, same thing with B, they say concentration of the transfer was high.
Let me tell you, this is a very tricky question because the question itself confuses the reader. See, you have to form a deductive conclusion. But I have trained you to be inductive students. So what has happened is, you have forgotten your deductive capabilities. You're saying, I'm going to pick only inductive answers. But we have learned something today. If the question is inductive, then the answer is? If the question is deductive, so what answer will you pick up in this particular case? B. And how is that? When suddenly transferred, it says, the bacteria exhibited no change in the pattern of their motion. That is a deductive conclusion. The problem with D is it says the bacteria exhibited an increased tendency. That's the inductive answer. So how can you use an inference that is deductive to form an inductive conclusion? And that's why D is gone. This is a very smart question. The test maker is really playing with the brain. They're saying that now you're strong in inductive test taking. I'll ask you deductive questions, see if you can do it fast. They, oh God, I've missed that point. So all of you have learned this question. This was a deductive question. So the answer that you got is? Wait, no, you got.
You said the answer, if the question is deductive,
Right.
then the answer is inductive.
But what happened in this case?
It reversed.
Why is that? I didn't say that. I'm saying that if the question is deductive, the answer should be more direct. The answer should not have things like increased tendency, maybe it will happen this way. Deductive has to be a statement, an assertive statement.
Okay.
So,
And what is the statement that we can give here? Right. B gives you a direct answer. This is it. No or yes. And inductive would be maybe it will happen. Right.
so deductive, maybe that's where I'm getting my confusion from. Deductive is more direct.
No.
No?
Yes.
Yeah, more direct.
Deductive is very direct, not more. It's very direct. Why did he just say deductive is direct?
Excuse me?
Deductive is direct.
Is direct.
Inductive is maybe direct. Okay.
Excuse me, and, if you look, if I was to look at a question, when I'm taking a test, how would I know saying here, they're looking for,
You know why? Because of word inference. Right. So the word inference is really a deductive. When you asked him about deductive, he said things with deductive statements at the end. We'll give you that. Okay. Next question. Yes.
Deductive for deductive, inductive.
That's right.
And once again, what clues would we know that they're asking us in deductive or undeductive questions?
It can be inferred from the passage.
From the, sorry.
It's a direct inference from the passage. It's directly related to what the passage says. Okay? Next question, 17. It can be inferred from the passage. Well, it's not the same thing. That's what I'm trying to teach you. Very carefully watch everything. Do not follow directions as if it's like a label on a can. Now let's read this question and tell you what happened differently than the last one. In the last question they asked you, it can be inferred from the passage. Okay? But in question 17 they're saying, it can be inferred from the passage that a bacteria would increase the likelihood. Now that's a deductive statement. Maybe it will increase the likelihood of movement. So you are being given a deductive statement, but the argument this time is inductive. So the question is inductive. It's not deductive any longer. And they did that intentionally to reverse your thought process. What they were done in the last question, they were deductive. So they know all of you are in that mood. And the test taker is fast, so when they go to this question, they'll be still deductive in their mind. So the word inference will remind them of deductivism. But that's not the right approach. So in this question, we have been told by some signal words, the likelihood that will increase, right? And that is inductive. So what answer would you pick up in number 17 to be out? To be out. Will you reject? D you said? Tell us why D is out. It says exhibited a complete cessation. Very good, D is out. You're right, absolutely right. What else can I throw out? Say it again? I can't hear you. When you say B or C, I can't hear sometimes when you say. Why is E all out of this?
Increased tendency.
But increased tendency means what? It's inductive, so better hold on to that. Don't forget that. You have, what's happening is, you're forming judgments related to the last question. You have to stay detached and understand the argument that this question is asking you. This time the question is inductive. So E is more likely of an answer than drop out.
C is the next one.
C is the next one. And why C is the wrong answer?
Comparison. No,
Comparison.
Anyone? Why is C the wrong answer?
because they talk about parents rather than on the home.
And the other word that's critical in C is relied. Means it's reliability. So, can you have this passage give you reliable answers?
No.
So that's why C is out. What else? Why is A out? Increase the speed as it swam immediately. So the word immediately throws it out again, okay? It's too deductive. What else? Well, now it's going to be hard. Now it's going to be very hard. It's between B and E. It's either a B as in boy or E as in elephant.
Would be B.
Come on, guys.
B.
Either B or E.
B. B.
I think it's easy because it could.
Yeah, tendency to something like that.
Tendency, E.
So E's out.
So it's between B and E. Is it boy or elephant? At this stage, you should read the question again, and then you'll get the answer. There's a clue in the question.
B is the answer.
That a bacterium would increase the likelihood of its moving away from an area.
So E is the answer.
E is
Why?
the answer.
Say increase.
Increased tendency.
That's right. That's exactly right. Because they're asking you the increase of likelihood. Look at the word increase. It's there. Increase. That's right. Very good. Did all of you get why E is the right answer? Okay. Next question, number 18. Okay, why is B not the right answer? In B, it says detected the concentration gradient of an attractant toward which it could begin to swim. But we know it's already swimming, so we are trying to find out the likelihood of its moving away. And that's why B is out. Okay? So the action is not represented in the words. Number 18, it can be inferred from the passage. Now let's try to find out if it's inductive or deductive. What do you think? 18. Swimming up a concentration gradient. The author means that they were behaving as if they were swimming, right? So what would you say is the answer? This is an easy one, very easy. This actually is a very easy question. You'll get it. Good. Quick, real quick. What tells you the answers are wrong? Which answers are wrong and why? Come on, guys.
D. D is out. D is out.
D.
It's out.
They were swimming by
D is a dog.
Yeah. It's out.
Why is that? Tell us why.
But it says
Completely absent.
completely absent.
That's right.
D
What else is out? Very good.
E is out.
B is out.
E, E.
Why is B out?
The word stronger is just more, B does.
What's wrong with stronger? It's relative. It doesn't say strongest. If it said strongest, I'd say yeah. And there are two words that you should remember, against and away.
Right? Is the right answer?
Where do you see the word against?
Yeah, I think so.
And those two are gone, right? Where do you see the word away from a substance? So A is gone, B is gone, C is gone, D is gone. What's left? E is the right answer. Number 19, what kind of question is that? Is number 19 inductive or deductive question?
Inductive.
Right, because the word indicates. Great. What's out in here, number 19? It's inductive. Inductive. Come on, guys, which one can we get rid of? In this one, I think you'll have to read the passage very carefully, the last part of the passage. In some questions, you cannot do what you're doing. And the question is so simple, you've got to go to read the passage. So go back into the passage and try to find out the best answer. Anyone? The answer or the rejection? No? Tell us what line you found that. Line 15, yeah.
One student comes to us with more tracking with the serious expression.
Right.
Bacteria, so the one gradient of the
Right. How does it give you A as the answer? I don't understand that. The kinds of chemical attractants, how the kind? So it doesn't tell us about the different types of chemical attractants. It only describes one chemical attractant, right? So that's why A is out. Anybody else? What other answers would you like me to give you?
D is the right answer.
Why?
It says a decrease in,
What line are you looking at? The passage.
the 2021.
2021.
As they do so, their swimming is characterized by a decrease in tumbling.
Where does it say anything about extent to its neighboring bacteria? Does it say anything about neighboring bacteria?
No.
So that's why D is out also. Keep going, yeah. You think he's the right answer?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's the last
Yeah.
experimental evidence suggests that bacteria compare concentration at different times.
But that doesn't tell you the changes in the terms of time. So that's why E is out.
Okay, I chose C because if we look at line 18,
Yeah.
they say that the bacteria swim along the gradient of the attractant from the area where the concentration of the attractant is weaker to an area where it is stronger. So it is going from one area to so.
You got it. C is the right answer. C. C as in cat is the right answer. Do you guys want to take a short break now? Sure. Okay, we'll give you a break because I think you'll get tired if I do too much critical thinking. So let's take a break. We will take a break for 10, 15, 20 minutes. What is the number you want? 10, 15 or 20?
Lunchtime.
But let's have a quick lunch break or whatever you want to call it. What time is it now on the board? 1:25? About 1:45 I would say. Something like that. So take 15, 20 minutes. And then we'll have other short breaks in the session. We always try to have one. I have a handout that I'm going to go throughout the day. If you cannot stay, there's no use in the handout. What are you going to do with it? You can take it. You can answer all the questions at home. At home. No, I'm saying you have it. The answer will not be you. You have to get answers from somebody else. You can take one. Yeah, bring some back. You want to wear it? Well, I don't go. The size of the head. 30-page exam.
Just,
30-page exam. How can you take it?
32, right, so tonight.
You have to do it in class.
Yeah.
Answer to the question.
I'm gonna go check now.
yeah.
Where's Simone?
Am I in there? Am I in there? Okay.
Yes, and what is it asking you? Deductive will be deductive, inductive will be inductive. But we have to find out what the statement is saying itself. The question. I know, because you have to practice. Oh, but see, that's what you want to get back. You know. Go, yeah. I could go later on. Like, what I do is I'll keep the class, and if you have to leave early, sure, no problem. See, some people will come in and they have to leave.